ago. I've stood in Red Square in Moscow and seen the body of Lenin, stood in People's Square in Beijing and seen the body of Chairman Mao, and in Hanoi, Vietnam, I've seen the body of Ho Chi Minh, all communist leaders. I've done business, lectured, and taught, and visited in over 30 countries in the world. I've shaken the hands of presidents and had them call me by name. Somewhere, though, between Shanghai and Singapore 2 months ago, I realized that I had to keep a promise. This is not a story about 1966, but this is or 2010. This is a true story of living life to its fullest potential, overcoming obstacles, which each one of you will have in front of you. It's a story of not only surviving life, but living with enthusiasm, success, grace, and dignity. This story is about a man who got knocked down and got up and never stopped. This story is about a friend of mine named Jimmy Baker, and I made him a promise. Jimmy was a 1966 graduate of Permian High School. I first met Jimmy in junior high, and then we became friends in the 10th grade. I had the prettiest girl in the 10th grade. We had a sophomore dance, and I called her and I said, "I want you to go with me." And she said, "Jimmy Baker's already beat you to the punch." Ah, that Jimmy Baker. Football team, he was on the football team, he was on the track team, he was on the basketball team, he was on the baseball team. Academically, he's in the top 10% of his class. Great dancer. Personally, I majored in the gator. I was really good at gator. Jimmy wasn't, but he was a great dancer. He was a not-so-good driver. He had many accidents. He had the strongest arms I'd ever seen. He could put you down in a heartbeat with his arms. Card player, he counted cards. He scored a perfect score on the SAT math portion. Amazing. He was a leader of his youth group. He went to college, graduated, got his master's degree in chemical engineering, and he was the head of the Celanese chemical engineering plant in Corpus Christi. The 10-year reunion, Jimmy looked great. At our 20-year team reunion, our football team reunion, he called me and he said, "Phil, life has been good to me. Life has done more than I ever would have expected." He said, "Can I do anything? Can I buy someone's airplane ticket? Can I get someone here? What can I do to help get someone here or anything else?" It was never about Jimmy Baker. It was always about somebody else. Somebody else, and it usually was you. He was a Texas State 9-ball champion. He was an amazing person. In 1988, Jimmy's father called me, and he said, "Phil, Jimmy's moving back to Odessa." And I was really puzzled because the last I talked to Jimmy, he was really doing well. A few weeks later, I got a call from Jimmy himself. He says, "If you have a minute, I'd like for you to drop by and visit with me." So I went over to his house, and I remember walking in the front door, and his bedroom was on the left, and I walked in the bedroom, and he was laying in bed. His head was twice the size of normal. His kidneys were failing, and he looked at me and he said, "I don't have much time." I was shocked. But what I didn't really tell you was the most important thing about this person, this man. Jimmy Baker had never run. Jimmy Baker had never blocked. Jimmy Baker had never tackled. Jimmy Baker had never scored a hoop. He'd never hit a baseball. Jimmy Baker was in a wheelchair from 2 years old. Now, this is 1966, okay? This is when there were no ramps like you could come up on this stadium. This is when things were not structured for handicapped people. But you never knew it with Jimmy Baker. You never, ever knew it. He was an amazing person. He danced in his wheelchair. He danced on his crutches. Everybody treated him just like everyone else. But he was an amazing person. He had obstacles in front of him, but he never saw it as obstacles. He saw it as opportunities to do better and be a better person. Jimmy had what we call post-polio syndrome. It was being attacking his whole body. He did not have long to live. But there was no complaining. There was no whining. It was amazing to watch him. And he looked at me and he said, "Phil, I want you to do two things. Number one, I want you to put me in the ground. I want you to be the lead pallbearer when I die. And number two," he said, I have some money, and I want you to, whoever needs the money, I want you to get it to them." Here we are, handicapped. He was never handicapped. I was standing on the golf course with Dean Combs the other day. Somebody walked up to me and said, "Phil, what's your handicap?" And I said, "A big mouth and no money." That's my handicap. He had no handicap. It was amazing to watch how he handled life. We have to take a look at these people and at Jimmy Baker and realize the spirit that he had. I was never surprised by what he did. 2 weeks later, Jimmy passed away at the age of 40 years old. We put Jimmy in the ground. We would never forget Jimmy. In 2005, Coach G. Mayfield, who was here for many years at Permian High School, was inducted in the Hall of Fame. We had never bought championship rings, so we decided to buy rings for everybody. So we all bought rings. I actually wearing mine tonight. And we realized that one thing we had to do. Jimmy never had a ring. And tonight I have Jimmy's ring. And I'm going to present this to Roy Garcia in a minute. One of the greatest pleasures we've ever had is to realize that people, and this is the point tonight, seniors, that you're going to have obstacles. You're going to have problems in life. It's how you deal with those is the successes that you lead. People are more important than things. Success is not measured by money, popularity, politics. It's measured by how you live your life. I'm not going to tell you go grab the future. It's rough out there, and you're going to fail. My kids have failed, but it's how you handle that failure what determines if you're successful or not. Jimmy Baker was an extremely successful, and he's here tonight with the Mojo spirit. He lives inside of all of us. He is the guy that keeps us going. Seniors, it's been a pleasure. I know you've had a great year, and life is in front of you. I'll tell you a couple of things and close. Do not forget where you came from. Do not forget who got you there. And there's three things you can't have too much of: friends, love, and money. Roy Garcia, would you come forward, please? I have Jimmy Baker's his championship ring, and I'm going to give this to Roy. We'll have a picture and an article, and we'll go into Permian's front foyer, and it's my pleasure to represent him tonight. Thank you for the time, and seniors, go Mojo.